This was not how Thanksgiving was supposed to go. Not even close. The smoke alarm is screaming bloody murder. My dog is having some kind of meltdown under the coffee table, and the whole house smells like someone set a tire on fire inside a charcoal factory. Through the haze, I can just make out the friendly, festive glow of flashing red and blue lights pulling up to my curb. So you might be wondering how I ended up here. You know, with a house full of smoke, a turkey that looks like a piece of volcanic rock, and the local fire department asking me some very pointed questions on my front lawn. Well, it all started with my one and only job: cook the Thanksgiving turkey. A job that sounds simple enough on paper. A job that I somehow managed to turn into a full-blown, holiday-annihilating catastrophe. Let's rewind a few hours. The morning had that specific kind of Thanksgiving energy. It's a delicate cocktail of genuine excitement, thinly veiled family-induced anxiety, and the amazing smell of stuffing and gravy waiting to happen. My parents, in a fit of tech-loving inspiration, had just renovated their kitchen, and the crown jewel of this whole operation was a brand new state-of-the-art smart oven. It was all sleek, minimalist touchscreen and had more functions than a NASA command center. It promised perfect roasts and a seamless user experience. It was also, as I would soon find out, plotting my downfall. This year, everyone was coming to our house. I'm talking aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen since they had braces, my grandparents, the whole squadron. The pressure was on, and for the first time ever, I, the eldest son, had been handed the most sacred of Thanksgiving duties: the turkey. My mom had passed the torch, telling me, "It's your year," with a level of confidence I felt deep in my soul I did not deserve. My only job was to not mess it up. One single job. The turkey itself was a thing of beauty. A 20-pound monster that I had lovingly brined for 2 days straight. I'd seasoned it like a pro, stuffed it with herbs, and trussed it up based on about 6 different YouTube tutorials. It was sitting there in the roasting pan, just looking majestic and ready for its oven debut. All I had to do was get it in there and let technology handle the rest. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? With the bird prepped, I turned to face the oven. The touchscreen lit up, presenting me with a library of symbols that looked vaguely like hieroglyphics: bake, roast, broil, convection, and a few others that I was sure were for summoning demons. I just needed to preheat to 325. Simple. I tapped what I was sure was the roast button, punched in the temperature, and hit start. The oven gave a happy little hum. I slid the turkey inside, closed the door with a satisfying thud, and strolled into the living room, feeling dangerously proud of myself. About 30 minutes roll by. We're all chatting, laughing. My little cousin is showing me some game on his phone. That's when I noticed a faint, weird smell. It wasn't the warm, savory aroma of roasting turkey. It was sharp, chemical, like burning plastic. "Is that the new oven?" my aunt asked, wrinkling her nose. "Oh yeah, sometimes they have to burn off the factory coating," I said, just parroting something my dad had said last week. I was trying to project this aura of cool competence, like this was all part of my master plan. But deep down, a little knot of dread started to form in my stomach. I excused myself and went back to the kitchen. The smell was way stronger in here, and that's when I saw it, the first real sign of trouble. A little padlock icon had appeared on the oven screen. The door was locked. I pulled the handle. Nothing. It wouldn't budge. My heart started to pick up speed. Why would it lock? I started tapping the screen, trying to find a cancel button, an unlock command, anything. It was completely unresponsive. The screen just showed me the temperature, which was climbing. Fast. 350, 400, 450 degrees. And right next to the temperature, one word I hadn't seen before, glowing with a quiet, menacing energy: cleaning. The realization washed over me, cold and awful. In my rush, scrolling through that ridiculous menu of icons, I didn't hit roast, I hit self-clean. I had just sentenced a 20-pound turkey to literal cremation. I'd started a cycle designed to vaporize grease and grime by heating the oven to nearly 900 degrees. A cycle that, for very obvious safety reasons, seals the door shut until it's over. A cycle that takes about 4 hours. Panic. Pure lizard brain panic. My one job, my only job. I was actively incinerating the main event for 20 hungry people who were going to be ready to eat in a couple of hours. That chemical smell was now mixing with something much, much worse. The smell of burning. Not a cozy roast. A violent, choking, acrid stench. Wisps of smoke started to leak from the oven vents, curling into the kitchen like angry ghosts. I started mashing every button on the screen. Cancel. Stop. Please God, no. The oven just stared back, silent and smug. My dad wandered in to see what the holdup was. I tried to explain, my voice cracking. He builds furniture for fun, but he was just as baffled by this high-tech beast as I was. We found the manual and frantically flipped through it. Cycle cannot be interrupted once initiated, the troubleshooting section cheerfully informed us. Door will remain locked until oven temperature has returned to a safe level. The smoke wasn't just seeping anymore. It was pouring out, thick and gray, filling the kitchen and rolling into the living room. And then, right on cue, the shriek of the smoke alarm. Then the one in the hallway joined in, creating a symphony of failure. The dog started barking, my cousins started crying, and every adult was on their feet, looking around in a state of confused alarm. The biggest family get-together of the year had officially descended into absolute chaos. My chaos. The house was a disaster zone. The alarms were wailing, and I could already hear my grandma asking if this was how it all ends. This was it. This was my Thanksgiving-themed rock bottom. And if you have ever had a moment where you single-handedly torpedoed a major holiday, first of all, tell me I'm not alone. And second, hit that subscribe button so we can all form a support group. My dad, springing into action, started throwing open every window and door, letting a blast of freezing November air in. It was like trying to bail out the Titanic with a bucket. The smoke was just too thick. My mom was flapping a dish towel at the smoke alarm while trying to reassure my grandmother that this was not, in fact, the apocalypse. It was a beautiful scene of domestic pandemonium, and that's when the doorbell rang. The first guests had arrived right on schedule, walking into a home that looked and sounded like it was being fumigated. Their happy, expectant smiles just melted off their faces as the wall of smoke and noise hit them. My uncle just yelled, "What in the world is going on in here?" All I could do was point a trembling finger at the oven, the glowing, humming monolith that was the source of all our pain. For a solid minute, we all just stood there, a weird family tableau, watching the oven continue its fiery mission. We couldn't cook. We could barely breathe. Thanksgiving was, for all intents and purposes, dead. I did it. I failed my one job and I ruined everything. Just as I was seriously considering faking my own death and starting over in another country, the oven let out a soft ding. The cleaning light turned off, but the door was still locked. The manual didn't lie. We had to wait for it to cool down. What followed was another agonizing hour of airing out the house, issuing a continuous stream of apologies to every person who walked in, and watching my culinary dreams turn to carbon. Finally, we heard it. A loud click. The lock was disengaged. A hush fell over the entire house. Everyone crowded into the kitchen, a mix of morbid curiosity and genuine pity on their faces. This was the moment of truth. With the grim determination of someone opening a sarcophagus, I pulled on a pair of oven mitts, took a deep breath, and swung open the door. A final, huge plume of black smoke billowed out, making everyone stumble back, and there it sat. What was once a glorious 20-pound bird was now a shrunken black husk. It wasn't just burnt, it was a fossil, a turkey-shaped piece of charcoal. My dad gently poked it with a fork, and a piece of it just collapsed into a puff of black dust. The silence in the room was absolute. I just stood there staring into the abyss of my own failure. And then something I never would have expected happened. My sister started to laugh, not a little giggle, a deep, uncontrollable, can't-breathe belly laugh. Then my dad started, and soon the entire room was roaring with laughter. They weren't mad. They were looking at the sheer, spectacular absurdity of it all. The smoke, the alarms, the charcoal bird, and it was the funniest thing they had ever seen. All the tension just vanished. We couldn't cook. The house smelled like a campfire. Our grand feast was a pile of ash. My uncle clapped me on the back and said, "Well, kid, nobody can say it wasn't memorable." And he was right. We couldn't have the Thanksgiving we planned, so we improvised. We ended up ordering an obscene amount of pizza and a few buckets of fried chicken. We all sat around the living room, eating off paper plates, crushing greasy pizza instead of turkey and stuffing. We had all the windows open, music playing, and we just talked and laughed for hours. We laughed about my panic, the shrieking alarms, and the tragic tale of Sir Reginald, as the turkey was posthumously named. It was messy, it was weird, and it was nothing like a normal Thanksgiving. And honestly, it was the best one we've ever had. It became the legend of the turkey cremation of 2025, a story that gets a little more dramatic every year it's retold. It really showed me that the holidays aren't about the perfect meal or making sure everything goes off without a hitch. They're just about being together. And sometimes it's the complete disasters and the epic fails that end up being the memories that stick. The chaos is what makes the best stories. So, I have to know, what's your biggest holiday disaster? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear that I'm not the only one who's done something like this. Thanks for watching.